This is such a fascinating relationship. The two Martian signs together. Hmm. Obviously, Mars being the forceful, aggressive, progressive planet that it is, to have these two planets in a relationship, to have these two signs in a relationship guided by the same planet. Granted, yes, Scorpio is also ruled by Pluto, but you have the two Martian signs here. Whenever you have two signs of the same planet, it's a very interesting affair. Because they have this complementary nature between them, no matter what the planet. And being that Mars is the planet here, these two signs are both warriors. They're both very powerful, strong energies. They insist on moving forward in their life. They're always looking to get stronger, to get better, to get more, to just conquer more. You know, they set their goals high and they fight until they achieve them. And so they're very similar in a lot of ways, but they go about it completely differently. Aries is fire. It's in your face, it's boisterous, it's dynamic, it likes to boast a little. Yes, both planets, or rather both energies, get their power from that planet Mars, but the elements are completely different. Fire energy, like Aries, is centered around the ego, centered around the power drawn from I. I am, I do this, my goals are this. Scorpio's very different. Being a water sign, let alone a water sign, the fixed water sign, it's so much more introspective. It's so much more. The power goes deeper. It's more emotional in a subtle way. They're both very emotionally driven people. Um, Even say if Mercury is in a logical sign like Mercury in Taurus for Aries, or Mercury in Libra for Scorpio, that just means that the energies will be somewhat logical, but at the end of the day, emotions are overriding. That's not a bad thing. That's actually a very it is what it is. It's the gift of these two energies. And so really I find the biggest challenge in this relationship, and then we'll get to the greatest rewards, is if either of these two signs, and especially if both of these two signs are having a little war between them for who has all the power. They're trying to control each other because of psychological habits from before. Um, Habits ingrained in conditions that just are not helpful. And in the case of Aries, that lower manifestation of energy will definitely come out in ego, definitely come out in, well, I need to be first always because that's just how it needs to be. That's, that is such a challenging statement for anybody because, well, it's lower order energy. It doesn't matter what sign it is, but in the case of Aries, it's going to be loud in your face. It's going to be like a little child who is insisting they get their way simply because it's more than a little frustrating for anybody. And again, it's not inevitable. It's not inevitable at all. You just got to learn through the Aries energy. I myself have a lot of Aries energy, and I've done a lot of self-reflection on my ego and how I automatically react to things. And that's something else to note real quick, is Aries is the one that is automatically going to react. They're the ones who are going to snap and say or do something rather rash. Now, that also translates into the beautiful side of Aries, of being impulsive in an endearing way. Bringing home flowers and just like, whoa. Or just random impulsive actions of love that move the relationship forward. Scorpio loves that about Aries. But that's the higher order. So, again, we'll cover the more challenging bits first, then we'll get to the more positive bits. Oh, man. Scorpio, perhaps least, well, I don't know. Out of all the signs, Scorpio is certainly one of, well, it depends, really. If the Scorpio is a higher function themselves, if their energies are working for them and they separated fear out of their life, or rather they're using fear, you can't really separate it, but they're using fear, they're not letting it own them, which is a big thing for any sign, any human being, but especially for Scorpio, because Scorpio can totally be ignorant of their amazing power if they let fear and paranoia and pain and grudges and whatnot rule their life. essentially, if the Scorpio has sorted through their psyche, sorted through their psychological states, and if they've cleaned up any of those grudges, those pains from childhood, those deep, intense feelings that can threaten to overtake them if not explored. If they've done that, then they can handle the Aries acting like a little child. If the Scorpio is, whether the Aries is at a higher vibration or lower vibration, if the Scorpio has not done this, not sorted through all of the pain and paranoia, I mean, take it from, well, at least my word, I'm just one person, but from my perspective, Scorpio's fears and pains are all in their mind. It's all in their, well, not even so much their mind. It's in their emotional body. Their perception, they're oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, but potentially, very challenging nature, their perception of the world can very much be influenced by their emotional states. And so if they haven't delved into those inner depths, they're not going to be as powerful as they would be otherwise, because of that self-knowledge, that self-mastery, understanding of your own emotions, and understanding well enough of other people's. Otherwise, Scorpio at a lower level is very much going to play into the games. They may let Aries think that they've won, Again, this is Aries at a lower level. But they will swiftly plan their retribution. They will swiftly plan their next plan of attack, how to ultimately win. And that's really the biggest challenge between these two energies, is when both of them, if one of them, let's focus, if both of them are trying to control and beat each other. Well, now one of the beautiful things about this relationship is they're both from Mars. They're both warriors. They understand that energy. They respect that energy. And indeed, they very much value and admire that power that the other one has that they can't seem to tap into. That, from the Aries perspective, that Scorpio ability to get things done. Aries has a lot of energy, but they tend to waste it in a lot of different directions. Or rather, they tend to go in a lot of different directions. So in the short term, it seems like wasting because they don't get the tangible reward. It takes a lot of effort in 5 different directions. You need a lot more time, even with all that powerful Aries energy. You need a lot more time to get things done and to have it reach a solid, satisfactory reward. Scorpio sticks with something until it becomes profitable, before it becomes useful, and has that ability to. I mean, it's just in Scorpionic nature to set the sights on something and go for it repeatedly until it's achieved. Doesn't matter how many emotional deaths it takes. The Scorpio committing suicide to become the no, I do not endorse committing suicide. But metaphorically speaking, the Scorpio who stings itself to rise to a higher perspective, which is then the eagle, which rises to a higher perspective, which is then the phoenix, essentially. And I say this a lot, but it bears repeating. Scorpio energy, for all of its shyness, its timidity, is one of the leadership power energies out there. And there have been so many leaders who've been Scorpio. Teddy Roosevelt, Charles de Gaulle in France. There's been so many. It's not even worth going into. But that is the ultimate goal for the Scorpio, is to become good enough to achieve their goal. And Aries very much functions in a different way. Scorpio is ruled in part by Pluto, that interesting, mysterious, transformative planet that I find so much evidence for being a link, a circuit for deeper energy in the Kuiper belt, the second asteroid belt in our solar system beyond Neptune, and a place that reaches of space that we've not quite discovered. And I find a lot of truth for that, considering Pluto's eccentric orbit in comparison to the plane of the solar system, the fact that it has this monumental power and yet is so small. There's something either in the composition of that planet or dwarf planet, or some kind of link to a deeper space energy. There's something there, and it shows in Scorpionic character, because yes, both these signs are of Mars, but Scorpio is the one that goes through, I would say, a lot deeper inner transformations. Now, can the Aries be as deep, as wise, as powerful? Yes. And that is what Scorpio loves about Aries, is they can achieve that same kind of power in a very different way, though. Instead of turning inward for that energy, it's more of a spur of the moment, impulsive, at their fingertips energy. Looking at mythology, at Aries versus Hades, is a perfect example of these two energies being very different. Aries, they're both incredibly powerful, but Hades dwells in the underworld, dwells in more manipulative fashions, more deceptive. Is he incredibly powerful? Yes. Hence why Aries would never just stroll down to the underworld. But Aries is powerful in his own right. Yes, very silly, very naive, very selfish, having sex with so many uh, people when still married and whatnot. Well, I don't know if he was married to. Maybe he wasn't. But in any case, Aries doing what he wants and able to do what he wants. Very powerful. He is, for all of his naivete and impetuosity, he is welcomed at, in the halls of Olympus. And that's because of his great power. Planet of war. There you go. And it's not only Scorpio, but Aries as well. And Scorpio is intrigued and afraid of Aries' power because Aries can act so instinctively. I mean, they both act so instinctively, but so impulsively, for Aries. And still get things done that it would take a lot longer for Scorpio. And also the bravery of Aries has something to be lauded. Yes, Scorpio is just as brave in their own way, but Aries shines with their bravery. It's very apparent. They don't even have to necessarily be doing anything brave for you to feel their courage and know that they would do something if the moment called for it. Aries is fascinating that way. They have that pure instinct that Scorpio has, but it's a bit more apparent. Fire energy is immediate, direct, and a little unpredictable. If you ever watch Samurai Champloo, it's very much like Mugen. There you go. Actually, he is fire energy personified, and then water energy is Jin. I hope you watch that show because it's a great metaphor for these two energies, of these two warriors who fight in very different ways and yet are an even match. They have that same power, that same source. So I'd say that's the greatest gift here, is complementing each other. I guess complementing each other, but more complementing. Letting your powers work together for common goals instead of working against each other. If you can turn these warriors' attention to another goal, and again, Samurai Champloo, perfect example, with Fu and everything, perfect example. If you can unite them, get them on the same team, holy shit, that's just insane. First of all, if it's in a romantic relationship, the sex is going to be amazing. Absolutely off the charts. If it's a business partnership, you will be able to accomplish anything. The Aries may be a bit more of the apparent leader, but the Scorpios is the one who really feels things through and lets their instinct guide them of, yes, go with that deal, no, don't go with that deal, and be able to feel things that the Aries wouldn't. The Aries would be going for 4 deals at once and wasting their energy, say, on 2 of them, and the Scorpio could say, no, those 2, from right away, no, those 2 are definitely not right. You're letting you're letting your excitement guide you instead. And if the Aries is a wise Aries and able to take that kind of criticism that the Scorpio's very generously offers, then they will be able to work together, and they will, again, the focus will remain forward instead of at each other and not getting anywhere. Now, could the Scorpio be wrong and paranoid? Yes. Should the Aries decide on that on their own? Yes. Should they allow the possibility that the Scorpio knows something or feels something that they don't? Yes. And that doesn't just go for business, that goes for everything. If the Aries can trust the kind of more darker, deeper, secretive Scorpio, everything is going to be okay. Because if that trust is there, and Scorpio is not being selfish, then Scorpio, the beautiful loyalty and dedication, that side of Scorpio that would never betray their loved ones, comes out. That would rather die than betray their loved ones. Now, it takes a lot of rebirth to get to that point, to get to that eagle phoenix point of Scorpio, that you're not just trying to sting people for power. That's the way I see it, you know, with a very low perspective. Look at eagle versus scorpion. Scorpion is on the ground. There's nothing wrong with the ground, but look at the perspective these two animals have. The Scorpio is going to see practically nothing in comparison to the eagle. And even then, getting into a mythological bent. Eagle versus phoenix. The phoenix who sees things because they rebirth. They literally die and come back. Obviously, eagle doesn't have that ability. And the phoenix is going to gain a lot more wisdom because of their understanding of their own cycles. We're all constantly being reborn, especially emotionally, and that's where Scorpio's power lies. So if a Scorpio's at that point, and an Aries is at a not so self-oriented point, practically another way to put it is not so selfish, not so egotistical. Man, it's amazing, these two signs together. Something that should also be noted is Aries is right next to Taurus in the zodiacal wheel of energies, and Scorpio's right next to Libra. Now, Libra and Aries are partner signs, partner placements, which means they bring out the best out of each other if both people are working at higher vibrations, and they can also bring out the most challenging aspects of each other. But ultimately, it's still worth it either way. You learn incredible amounts. It's what makes life so dynamic and so interesting, and makes chemistry between people so undeniable, is finding that complement, that perfect complement of partner signs. Finding somebody that's so similar to you, and yet it's a shift from left brain to right brain. In the example of Libra and Aries, Libra is very logical, air element, left brain, intellectual, thinks a lot. Aries thinks a lot too, but it's very much more subjective. It's much more right brain. It's much more inspiration based instead of logic based. So, Aries and Libra, and then Aries is right next to Taurus, Scorpio's partner sign, Earth, water. Earth, logical, water, subjective. And so, if the Aries has Venus in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus, or Taurus somewhere else in the chart, and especially somewhere prominent, so maybe rising, or even better, moon, or house of moon, house of sun, something like that. And or if the Scorpio has Libra Mercury, Libra Venus, Libra somewhere else in the chart, moon, house of moon, etc. This is going to be an incredible relationship. Now, if those aren't there, this is still going to be a very great relationship, you know. And don't listen to anyone else saying, if you feel in your heart that this is the right thing for you, don't listen to anyone saying, "Oh, this is a horrible relationship." You know, you have to make your choices for yourself, no matter what your energies are. But ultimately, it should be said, if these partner signs are there, this is a relationship that I would bet on, personally, because when partner sign placements are there, it's just that true chemistry that is so beautiful. And so that Aries will be much less egotistical. Now, yes, Taurus energy can add even more selfishness to the mix, but ultimately, Taurus learns its lessons, I would say, ironically, a lot faster than Aries in a lot of ways. Well, in some ways, rather. Especially in matters of love and the heart. They're not quite so focused on themselves. And especially with a Scorpio partner, that beautiful, sensual givingness of Taurus is going to come out. And that's going to be incredible for the relationship. And then on the other side, if that Scorpio has, say, Mercury, Libra, Venus, Libra, whatever, they're going to be a lot more focused on... Rather, they're going to be a lot more equipped to deal with the ego outbursts of Aries. Because Libra is almost amused. Actually, is amused by the ego outbursts of Aries. Now, obviously, if it's a very much lower order outburst, like say you're at a winery, you know, tasting wine, and Aries gets drunk and starts breaking glasses, okay, that's not quite so desirable for refined, chic Libra. But if the Aries is being a little bit selfish, a little bit childish, and if the Libra can get in there with their logic and their conversation and talk the Aries into a higher dimension of thinking, a higher vibration of thinking by not being so focused on themselves, which oftentimes means helping the Aries through supportive, encouraging conversation. Because Libra is a wonderful judge of character, wonderful judge of strengths, as well as weaknesses. Of course, balance. And can help with the Aries by pushing them forward where otherwise the Aries needed that encouragement. You know, they were like, as for all the bad rap that Aries gets about being selfish and ego-bound and whatnot, it, just like all the fire signs, but in fact, maybe I would say most so out of the fire signs, needs that encouragement, needs that step forward. They say Aries is like the perpetual child, and children have so much energy and so much potential and so much, all this room to grow, but you have to help them grow. You have to push them along sometimes, and get them to walk. Get them to, well, crawl first, of course. All right, walk. Aries would want to go from lying sedentary to straight up walking. They would go to straight up running, if not straight up like snowboarding or something like that. But ultimately, they do need that kind of little encouragement, and so that's where Libra really is just perfect for that. But Scorpio works too, and if you're Scorpio with a lot of Libra, brilliant. Ultimately, if the relationship is right, it will last, and it'll just naturally work out. No matter what the context of this relationship is, romantic, business, friends, whatever, these two signs bring out a better version of each other, potentially. They can also bring out a worse version, but it's still a learning experience. Whether lower energy battles happen, so instead of focusing on a goal, and even and especially the goal of self-fulfillment rather, and the fulfillment of others, their partner, they will learn, even if that doesn't occur, even if they're fighting. And if they are focused on the same goal, my God, nothing can get in their way, because they're attacking the same goal from a different angle. They're pincering it, And it's just incredible. The Aries will need patience with the Scorpio, but they need to trust the Scorpio too in their capabilities. And the Scorpio will lose patience with the Aries if the Aries goes too far. But ultimately, these two signs do have that innate understanding of each other, and it all centers on power. It all centers on respect of each other's warrior essence. And so, complimenting each other is important. Not trying to break each other down or say, I'm better than you. And the Scorpio can go after that too, out of a feeling of, no, I must have the power. And that's why I said it's so important to go into the emotional depths and sort out, okay, what is real power? Is power over other people real power? No. Power over myself is the ultimate power. That takes a long time to get to. That revelation takes a long time. But is it possible? Yeah, it's inevitable. Really, it's the Scorpio's necessity. If they don't get it in this life, they'll come back to the Scorpio and get it in the next one. But Scorpio transforms like no other sign, and is capable of completely transforming themselves into a higher vibration of themselves, a higher version, And Aries misses that at first because it's so subtle, and Aries isn't the most observant sign, honestly. If they have Taurus, they'll feel it, so that helps. And if they have Pisces, they'll sense it. Say Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Pisces, for example. But, man, once these two signs understand their strengths, understand their weaknesses, and understand the strengths of their partner as well as the weaknesses, and are okay with that, and are still able to fight alongside that person, this relationship is incredible, and nothing can stop it. In fact, it's important to have your scruples, because truly nothing can stop it. Except for karma. Karma is chain reaction, cause and effect and whatnot. So, yeah. I urge you to not abuse the power at your guys' hands. But it is substantial, and if you put it in a good direction, positive direction, you will have infinite return on it, for sure. In this and other lives. Namaste.